This film begins by introducing a woman named Soo-yoon, who is the president-director of Donghua Hotel. She's very clever and respected at work, but her life feels empty because she's divorced from her husband, who never really loved her. They'd only got married because Soo-yoon's father wanted it for his political career. One day, Soo-yoon and her secretary, Jung Mi-jin, go on a work trip to Cuba for a meeting about building a new hotel. When they get there, the taxi they're in almost hits a young man named Kim Jin-yuk, making his camera fall and break. Mi-jin quickly gets out of the taxi to talk to Jin-yuk and gives him her business card so he can contact her about fixing his camera. At that time, Soo-yoon stays in the taxi, watching Mi-jin and Jin-yuk talking. After a big meeting at work, Soo-yoon told her friend Mi-jin that she was feeling tired and wanted to take some sleeping pills. But when Mi-jin left, Soo-yoon changed her mind and decided to go to the beach to watch the sunset instead. Then she ended up walking to the beach because her taxi broke down. When she got there, she didn't notice that Jin-yuk was nearby and took a picture of her without her knowing. At that time, Soo-yoon found a good spot to watch the sunset, even though she had sore feet and her bag was stolen by some bad guys. She was really enjoying the beautiful sunset until she fell asleep on Jin-yuk's shoulder. She didn't realize he was there until she woke up. He apologized and tried to leave, but then she noticed he was Korean and stopped him from leaving because she needed money since she lost her wallet. On the other hand, Mi-jin got worried when she couldn't find Soo-yoon in their hotel room and couldn't reach her. But what Mi-jin didn't know was that Soo-yoon was out with Jin-yuk, having a good time watching different shows in the city. Jin-yuk even gave Soo-yoon a pair of sandals to make her walk more comfortable. Later that night, as they were heading back to the hotel, Soo-yoon asked Jin-yuk for his phone number so she could pay him back for the money she borrowed and for the camera he had damaged earlier. But Jin-yuk refused and instead asked her to treat him to breakfast the next day before he left for Korea. Soo-yoon agreed to his request. When Soo-yoon returned to the hotel, Mi-jin felt relieved but also scolded her for leaving without saying goodbye. The next morning, Soo-yoon had to sign a contract with a client, which made her late for the restaurant where Jin-yuk was waiting. He waited for over an hour, but eventually left a message and went away. Soo-yoon missed meeting him there, but surprisingly, they bumped into each other at the airport later. Then she offered Jin-yuk a business class ticket as compensation, but he turned it down because he already had plans made a year ago, including sitting in economy class. After a while, they went their separate ways. Jin-yuk found Mi-jin's business card and realized that Soo-yoon was the boss of Donghua Hotel, where he had applied for a job. He had recently received a call from the hotel offering him the job. Jin-yuk felt happy but also a bit awkward knowing he'd be working for Soo-yoon. On the day they were hiring new employees, Jin-yuk showed up looking all fresh for his new job. Soo-yoon, who was giving a speech at the event, was surprised to see Jin-yuk among the new hires at her hotel. After the event, Jin-yuk was taken to the room where he'd be working by his manager, Kim Soon-ju. Meanwhile, Soo-yoon was seen going through Jin-yuk's resume and smiled when she saw that he was still 29 years old. Later that evening, Soo-yoon, along with her driver Nam Myung-sik, went to a park that Jin-yuk had mentioned in his resume. As she sat on a swing enjoying the evening, Jin-yuk unexpectedly showed up at the park too. He then suggested they go to a photo printing place to see the picture he took of Soo-yoon back in Cuba. Since that night, they become close even though he sometimes feels nervous because he's walking with his boss. On another day, Soo-yoon went to visit her parents, Cha Jong-yoon and Jin Mi-ok. The conversation between Soo-yoon and her father was going fine until Mi-ok reminded her daughter to be nice to her ex-husband, Jong Woo-sok, and his mother, Kim Won-jin. This made Soo-yoon uncomfortable. Turns out Mi-ok had secretly met with Won-jin to talk about getting Soo-yoon to reconcile with Woo-sok, who could help Soo-yoon's father in the presidential election because of his family's influence. Later that night, Soo-yoon drove her car home and on the way, she saw Jin-yuk walking drunk after attending the new employee welcome party. Since it was raining, she decided to offer him a ride home, even though she had to deal with his silly behavior caused by alcohol. The next day, Jin-yuk felt really worried after realizing he acted silly in front of Soo-yoon the night before. When he got to the office, he got even more nervous when Soon-ju said he had to have an interview with Soo-yoon. In Soo-yoon's office, he quickly said sorry for his behavior. However, Soo-yoon didn't seem too bothered and gave him a drink to help with his hangover. Feeling bad, Jin-yuk offered to buy her ramyeon. Then, they agreed to go when Jin-yuk finished work. On Jin-yuk's day off, he was happy to spend time with Soo-yoon. Before leaving, he wrote his phone number on his hand and asked her to take a photo of it. Soo-yoon wondered if other women would be jealous of their closeness, but Jin-hyuk said he didn't have a girlfriend, so there was no one to be jealous. The next day, everyone was talking about an article that said Soo-yoon was seen with a guy at a rest area. Even though the guy's face was blurry, Jin-hyuk was shocked to see a picture of him and Soo-yoon eating ramyeon together trending online. Because of this, Hwa-jin met Soo-yoon and scolded her for getting involved in a love scandal with Jin-hyuk. Even though Hwa-jin is Soo-yoon's ex-mother-in-law, Soo-yoon tried not to cause any trouble with Woo-seok's family, who had helped her father a lot in his political career. There, Hwa-jin asked Soo-yoon to fire Jin-hyuk right away. Hearing that, Soo-yoon didn't say anything and just stayed silent as Hwa-jin left. Later, Mi-hyuk came to Soo-yoon's office, upset because she couldn't reach her daughter. She also urged Soo-yoon to reconcile with Woo-seok, but Soo-yoon refused, making Mi-hyuk annoyed. She thought Soo-yoon wasn't thinking about her political career. Jong-yoon was worried about not getting support from Woo-seok's family, which could hurt his chances of getting into the Blue House. As the evening came, Soo-yoon met Woo-seok at a bar to talk about Hwa-jin's behavior. Soo-yoon told Woo-seok how Hwa-jin always tries to control her, even though Soo-yoon is not her daughter-in-law anymore. She mentioned Hwa-jin's request to fire an employee from Donghwa Hotel. Upon hearing that, Woo-seok asked if Soo-yoon had a relationship with the employee, but she explained that it was just a professional relationship. During their conversation, Soo-yoon brought up the rumors about them getting back together, but Woo-seok reminded her that their relationship status wasn't her concern. He just wanted to live his life on his own terms. Meanwhile, in the park, Jin-hyuk was lost in thought until his colleague, Joo Hae-in, approached him and asked about the scandal involving him and Soo-yoon. At that time, Jin-hyuk explained that Soo-yoon was the woman he had helped when they met in Cuba by chance. Hae-in advised Jin-hyuk to focus more on himself and not worry too much about Soo-yoon, because if the media found out about him, he could get into trouble. On another day, Soo-yoon got news from Mi-jin about a painting she had been trying to buy for 2 years. The owner suddenly canceled the sale. Not wanting to lose the painting, Soo-yoon decided to talk to Master Jung about buying it. Mi-jin thought Hwa-jin might be behind the cancellation because she was still upset about Soo-yoon's scandal. Determined not to give up, Soo-yoon planned to go to Sokcho Island, where Master Jung lived, to discuss buying the painting directly. When the weekend came, Jin-hyuk was relaxing and reading when he got a call from Myung-sik inviting him on a business trip to Sokcho Island. Jin-hyuk agreed, and once they arrived, they enjoyed the beach together until Myung-sik had to go somewhere. Meanwhile, Soo-yoon was walking around the resort and bumped into Jin-hyuk, so they sat on the beach and talked. There he gave her a printed photo and then took her for a drive to see the island's beauty. They ended up having coffee where Myung-sik was sleeping, which annoyed Soo-yoon. When they returned to the resort, Soo-yoon refused to go back to Seoul because she wanted to meet with Jung, who had been avoiding her, to try to buy his painting. Myung-sik decided to stay, but Soo-yoon told him not to attend his father's anniversary. Late at night, Jin-hyuk was at home planning to rest when he heard a song on the radio that reminded him of Soo-yoon. Missing her, he hurried to meet her and invited her to eat together in Soko. They drove there in Jin-hyuk's pickup truck. At the restaurant, Soo-yoon asked why Jin-hyuk came to see her again, and he admitted that he missed her. At that time, Soo-yoon seemed surprised and pretended she didn't hear him. Then Jin-hyuk added that their meetings in Cuba and at the hotel weren't just coincidences, even though Soo-yoon tried to deny it. Later, they drank coffee on the beach and Jin-hyuk, feeling tired, fell asleep on Soo-yoon's shoulder. On the other hand, Woo-seok went to the resort where Soo-yoon was staying to drop off some clothes for her at the reception. While he was in the parking lot, he saw Soo-yoon getting out of a pickup truck with Jin-hyuk. When he got home, Woo-seok vented his frustration about his mother interfering in Soo-yoon's personal matters, even though Soo-yoon wasn't part of their family anymore. He was so upset that he even threatened to leave if his mother kept meddling. Another day, Mi-jin met with Woo-seok as Soo-yoon requested to return the clothes he gave her earlier. At that time, Woo-seok didn't mind and asked Mi-jin to tell Soo-yoon to be more careful in her actions to avoid another scandal. While Soo-yoon was driving her car, she saw Jin-hyuk at a bus stop and got distracted, causing a minor accident when she braked suddenly. Jin-hyuk quickly came over to help sort things out with the other driver involved in the accident. He then took over the driving and escorted Soo-yoon home. When they arrived at Soo-yoon's house exactly at midnight, Jin-hyuk, who knew her birthday, wished her and gave her a gift. Unfortunately, Soo-yoon refused the gift, saying she didn't want to get closer to him. Jin-hyuk apologized and prepared to leave, but as he walked away, Soo-yoon changed her mind and asked for the gift he had intended to give her. When Soo-yoon got to her room, she looked at the lipstick Jin-hyuk gave her until Mi-jin showed up and invited her to celebrate her birthday together. There she showed Mi-jin the lipstick and told her it was a gift from Jin-hyuk. Mi-jin was surprised and suggested that Soo-yoon should avoid getting involved with him. The next day, Mi-jin called Jin-hyuk and asked to meet at a shop. She reminded him not to get too close to Soo-yoon, especially since she was his boss and they came from different backgrounds, which could cause problems in the future. Jin-hyuk tried to assure Mi-jin that his relationship with Soo-yoon wouldn't affect their careers. A few days later, there was big news about Soo-yoon abusing her power as the head of a company, and it spread to different media outlets. When Woo-sok found out, he instructed his secretary to find out who started the rumors and stop them from spreading further on the internet. Because of the news, there was tension between Soo-yoon and director Chu Jin-chul after he asked about it in front of many people. At that time, Jin-hyuk, seeing Soo-yoon in a tough spot, called out loudly to her and invited her to eat together to avoid Jin-chul's questions. Soo-yoon agreed to Jin-hyuk's invitation and left with him right away. While they were on their way, Soo-yoon planned to be alone with Jin-hyuk, so she asked Mi-young-sik and Mi-jin to let them get off. Mi-jin felt annoyed by Soo-yoon's request, but she still followed her boss's orders. Jin-hyuk then took Soo-yoon to a cafe owned by his father's acquaintance, Mrs. Lee, to chat before heading home. Before Jin-hyuk continued his journey home by train, he stopped by his friend Lee Dae-chan's shop to meet Mi-jin. She appreciated Jin-hyuk's efforts to help Soo-yoon out of a tough situation earlier, but she still advised him to distance himself from Soo-yoon. Despite this, Jin-hyuk insisted on following his feelings, which led Mi-jin to finally tell him about Soo-yoon's complicated family situation. The next day, Jong-yoon was in his office chatting with colleagues and decided not to let the Hwamin party influence him, even though they were trying to boost his reputation. Meanwhile, rumors about Jin-hyuk and Soo-yoon's closeness were spreading at the hotel, but he tried not to let it bother him, even though many people were talking about them. During his break, Jin-hyuk decided to go to a cafe near the office. At that time, Soo-yoon, who was passing by, saw him from afar and sent him a message. He then asked her to take half a day off and meet him at an art gallery. Soo-yoon agreed, and Jin-hyuk quickly returned to the office to ask for permission from his boss. When they arrived, Jin-hyuk took Soo-yoon to a street filled with paintings before they went to eat at Dae-chan's shop. Meanwhile, Mi-jin returned to Dae-chan's shop to get her wallet, which she had forgotten, and accidentally ran into Jin-hyuk and Soo-yoon. Soo-yoon asked Mi-jin to join them for dinner. On the other hand, Hae-in also came to the shop, but decided not to enter when she saw Jin-hyuk looking happy with Soo-yoon. She walked sadly past a shop that reminded her of the time she spent with Jin-hyuk, feeling like she had lost a true friend. Meanwhile, Soo-yoon decided not to go home to avoid arguing with Mi-hyuk, who had been calling her since noon. Instead, she went back to look at the painting by the roadside, where she bumped into Jin-hyuk. While they were admiring the painting, Jin-hyuk suddenly asked Soo-yoon if their meeting that night was a sign that they liked each other. At first, Soo-yoon didn't want to think about it, but when Jin-hyuk asked her to look into his eyes, she realized her feelings for him and agreed to open her heart to him. This made Jin-hyuk happy, and he invited her to ride bikes together to a cake shop to celebrate their anniversary. They even kept the ball decorations from the cake. Meanwhile, Woo-sok met with Jin-chul to warn him not to meddle in Soo-yoon's life. Meanwhile, Mi-jin seemed happy because someone messaged her on an online matchmaking group. However, she didn't know that the message was sent through Dae-chan's phone, which Jin-hyuk's younger brother, Kim Jin-myung, was using. When Soo-yoon turned around, she bumped into Mi-hyuk again, who reminded her daughter not to get involved in any embarrassing scandals. Meanwhile, Jin-chul secretly instructed his subordinates to embarrass Soo-yoon at the resort's opening press conference coming up soon. On another occasion, Soo-yoon went to pick up some clothes she had ordered at a boutique and bought a tie for Jin-hyuk. When she realized Woo-sok was following her, she quickly left after taking the tie he had bought. Later, she went to Lee's shop, surprising Jin-hyuk, who saw her sitting in her car as if she was waiting for someone. When Jin-hyuk arrived, Soo-yoon invited him for a walk and talked about her struggles in establishing the Donghwa Hotel. When they returned to the car, Soo-yoon gave Jin-hyuk the tie, making him smile happily. On another day, Soo-yoon was at home, thinking about what Jong-yoon had said earlier. He didn't want his daughter to be the subject of gossip in the media, so he suggested that Soo-yoon should end her relationship with Jin-hyuk if it was only temporary. Later, during the opening of the resort hotel, Soo-yoon met Jin-hyuk while he was checking the guest rooms. She asked about his tie and helped him put it on. Woo-sok happened to see this from afar. Shortly after, the resort's opening ceremony began. After the ceremony, Hwa-jin approached Jong-yoon to discuss Soo-yoon's father's new vision and the party's different missions. She also mentioned Soo-yoon, suggesting that she might reconcile with Woo-sok. Later, Hwa-jin spoke with Jin-hyuk in the hotel lobby, advising him not to take advantage of Soo-yoon's loneliness. However, Jin-hyuk didn't pay much attention to what Hwa-jin said as he didn't want to argue with her. Meanwhile, Soo-yoon and several hotel officials were at a press conference for the resort's opening. Everything was going well until a journalist suddenly asked about Soo-yoon's love life. When the journalist mentioned Jin-hyuk, Soo-yoon initially didn't want to respond. But when the reporter hinted that Jin-hyuk might be intentionally following her, Soo-yoon decided to speak up. She admitted that her relationship with Jin-hyuk was more than just friendship. This surprised everyone, including Soo-yoon's mother, Mi-hyuk, who scolded her daughter and asked her to apologize. However, Soo-yoon refused because she believed in making her own choices without being told what to do by others. The following day, Hwa-jin, who seemed to know who was behind the questions from the previous reporter, called Jin-chol and instructed him to resolve the issue by transferring Jin-hyuk to another hotel branch and then quietly firing him. After work, Jin-hyuk was waiting at the bus stop for Soo-yoon, who had invited him to dinner. Suddenly, Woo-sok and his secretary approached Jin-hyuk to confirm his relationship with Soo-yoon on Sokcho Island. Jin-hyuk confirmed it and was surprised by Woo-sok's inquiry, to which Woo-sok explained that he just wanted to take care of Soo-yoon. Meanwhile, at home, Lee-jin, who was having a beauty treatment, felt happy because the man she had been messaging with invited her to meet, unaware that it was actually Dae-chan. While having dinner with Jin-hyuk, Soo-yoon received a message about the schedule for the board meeting the next day. During the meeting, Soo-yoon apologized to all the council members for her controversial statement during the last press conference. She promised it wouldn't happen again. However, Jin-chol suggested she resign as the hotel's president-director. Soo-yoon calmly assured everyone that such an incident wouldn't repeat. Meanwhile, Soon-ju led a meeting with the PR team to plan a New Year's Eve event at the Donghwa Hotel. At that time, Jin-hyuk proposed holding a masquerade party, similar to Halloween events. Upon hearing Jin-hyuk's brilliant idea, Soon-ju quickly agreed and asked him to draft a proposal for the event. This meant Jin-hyuk had to work late to finish the proposal for Soon-ju by the next day. But then, Jin-chol showed up unexpectedly, informing Jin-hyuk that he would be transferred to a hotel branch in Sokcho, because his scandal with Soo-yoon could jeopardize her position as president-director. Jin-chol urged Jin-hyuk to move to Sokcho when Soo-yoon went on a business trip to Shanghai. Later, Jin-hyuk was seen giving Soo-yoon a ride home after Myung-sik pretended to have a stomach ache to let them leave together. At home, Jin-hyuk started worrying about Jin-chol's request and the scandal with Soo-yoon. He's concerned about how his parents, Kim Jung-soo and Ju Yoon-ja, would react, especially since Yoon-ja was proud of Jin-hyuk for getting a job at a prestigious company. To clear his mind, Jin-hyuk decides to go for a run and meets Soo-yoon. Soo-yoon is surprised to see Jin-hyuk running all the way to her place because their houses are far apart. Jin-hyuk then asks Soo-yoon to take a photo together, like other couples do. After meeting Soo-yoon and returning home, Jin-hyuk tells his parents about his transfer to the Sokcho branch, reassuring them that it's a common thing for new employees. Another day, Jin-hyuk's teammates are upset about his sudden transfer to Sokcho, even though he's working on a proposal for a masquerade ball. Meanwhile, Hae-in, who knows about this, uses Soon-ju's phone to inform Soo-yoon, who is leaving for Shanghai. The next day, everyone was surprised to see Soo-yoon at the office, even though she was supposed to be in Shanghai for a few more days. Soo-yoon called Jin-chol to her office because he had approved Jin-hyuk's transfer without her knowledge. She was upset with Jin-chol's favoritism towards the Hwa-jin family, who owned the Taekyon group, and questioned his loyalty to the Donghwa Hotel. Meanwhile, Jin-hyuk met Hae-in, who admitted to telling Soo-yoon about his transfer. Jin-hyuk didn't mind and went to Soo-yoon's office to ask her not to stop his transfer to the Sokcho branch, because he didn't want to seem like he was getting special treatment. After talking with Jin-hyuk, Soo-yoon went to see Mi-hyuk to tell her to stop meeting Hwa-jin because she wouldn't get back together with Woo-sok. Suddenly, Mi-yeok brought up Jong-eun's political career, but Soo-yoon brushed it off, saying her father's success was due to his hard work, not others' help. Then, Soo-yoon took Jin-yeok to a tower in a grassy field to enjoy the view. They walked together, and Jin-yeok let Soo-yoon try using his camera. On their way home, Jin-yeok got a fever, so Soo-yoon took him to her house to rest. Seeing her busy making tea, Jin-yeok hugged her from behind, expressing his wishes and hopes after meeting her. Meanwhile, Dae-chan was preparing for a date event when Mi-jin, his online date, showed up. At that time, Mi-jin was disappointed, hoping he was a CEO. There, Dae-chan revealed he was the CEO of a seafood shop franchise. Mi-jin asked him to keep their meeting secret from Jin-yeok. After dinner, they went to Dae-chan's shop to drink with Jin-myung on guard duty. During their conversation, Jin-myung suggested they attend the upcoming masquerade ball at the Donghwa Hotel. Excited about the idea, especially since there would be a raffle with great prizes, they agreed. Meanwhile, Soo-yoon called Jin-yeok, who had just arrived in Sako, to make sure he got there safely. She promised to visit him soon before ending the call. On New Year's Eve, the masquerade party began at the Donghwa Hotel, but Myung-sik felt it wasn't complete without Jin-yeok. So he followed Jin-yeok to Sako, claiming the party was in chaos and needed Jin-yeok's help. Luckily, the hotel manager allowed Jin-yeok to leave. At the party, Jin-yeok, wearing a mask, pulled Soo-yoon aside to the balcony. She was surprised to see him there and they hugged, releasing their longing. Jin-yeok then invited Soo-yoon to grab a bite at a fast food joint and watch a movie before he reluctantly left to catch the last train to Sako, not wanting to part ways with Soo-yoon. During the masquerade ball, Dae-chan won a lottery to spend the night at the Donghwa Hotel. He planned to invite a woman he danced with, who turned out to be Mi-jin. They were surprised because they had been alone all night without realizing they knew each other. On their way home, Dae-chan and Jin-myung invited Mi-jin to eat at Lee's shop. Mi-jin, who had too much to drink, started talking about Jin-yeok's transfer to Sako after a scandal with the hotel's director. To confirm this, Jin-myung tried to call his brother, but Jin-yeok didn't answer. The next morning, Mi-jin woke up at Dae-chan's shop and felt annoyed. Dae-chan planned to take her to the hotel, but all the rooms were full, so he took her to his shop instead. Shortly after, Mi-jin was stunned by the news reporting that Soo-yoon and Jin-yeok had been on a date the previous night. She quickly contacted Myung-sik to share the news. Myung-sik, unfazed, simply commented that dating is typical for couples. Meanwhile at home, Won-jin handed Woo-sok 3 photos of women, instructing him to date one of them. This was in response to Soo-yoon's dating scandal, which was affecting the Taekyeon group. Soon after, Jin-yeok reached out to Soo-yoon after reading the news, expressing concern for Jin-yeok's exposure in the media and the gossip surrounding his life. Later that afternoon, Soo-yoon had lunch with her father, Jong-eun, and declared her intention to confront those who were constantly attacking her. Jong-eun supported his daughter's resolve but worried about Jin-yeok, who was unaccustomed to being in the spotlight. On the other hand, Jin-yeok, who was on the phone with Jin-myung, asked about their parents' reaction to the scandal. Jin-myung assured him that their parents were unaware of the news, but Yoon-ja was disturbed by the neighborhood gossip about Jin-yeok. On another note, Woo-sok approached Soo-yoon and tried to reconcile, even showing her their wedding ring that he still held onto. There, Soo-yoon explained that she only loves Jin-yeok now because, back when she was still married to Woo-sok, he chose to have an affair with another woman. At the same time, Mi-yeok met Jin-yeok to remind him of the difference in status between him and Soo-yoon, who might reconcile with Woo-sok. At that time, Mi-yeok warned that if Jin-yeok persisted, it could jeopardize Soo-yoon's career. After meeting Mi-yeok, Jin-yeok was worried about Soo-yoon and couldn't focus at work. When she contacted him, they discussed the complexity of continuing their relationship, especially given the risks involved. Concerned for each other's safety, they reluctantly agreed to stop communicating for a while. Tearfully, Soo-yoon agreed to try to suppress the news spreading in the media. A month later, Jin-yeok and Soo-yoon still can't stop thinking about each other, even though they haven't been messaging. One day, Soo-yoon went to Lee's place to print photos she took with the camera Jin-yeok gave her. At that time, Lee shared a romantic story about her late husband, which reminded Soo-yoon of Jin-yeok. Soo-yoon hurried to Sako, where Jin-yeok often visited the beach. She found Jin-yeok there, and they were both happy to see each other again. They went to a restaurant, planned their holiday, and enjoyed each other's company. After their reunion, Soo-yoon returned to Seoul with Myung-sik. Meanwhile, Mi-jin went to Dae-chan's shop after Jin-myung asked her to help him. After work, they drank together, and Mi-jin apologized for being rude earlier. Then, Dae-chan teased her, making Mi-jin blush and leave the shop. On another note, Jin-hyuk decided to video call Soo-yoon while he was getting ready to sleep. Soo-yoon quickly changed and joined the call. They agreed to make this a habit before bedtime. The following day, Jin-hyuk made headlines in a magazine for finding a lost teddy bear for a visitor. The girl's mother, who was a reporter, wrote an article about Jin-hyuk's kindness. This news made his colleagues at the Soko resort proud, especially manager Jin-hyuk, who was glad to have caring and friendly employees. Meanwhile, Soo-yoon received numerous flower bouquets at her office, all from Woo-sok. She contacted him, but declined his invitation to meet, citing a busy schedule due to an upcoming board meeting. This meeting was crucial because the hotel's stocks had dropped after an employee's actions disrupted plans to build a new branch in Cuba. The landowner, who initially agreed to sell his land, backed out upon hearing rumors that Soo-yoon intended to demolish the garden in front of the building for a swimming pool. During the board meeting, Jin-chul tried to sway the directors by claiming that the hotel's neglect stemmed from Soo-yoon's personal life taking precedence. Despite this pressure, Soo-yoon remained composed, focusing on resolving the land purchase issue in Cuba to prevent further complications. When Jin-hyuk heard about the problems at Donghua Hotel from Mi-jin, he remembered the old man who owned the land the hotel wanted to buy. He knew the garden there was important to the old man because it was a memory of his late wife. So Jin-hyuk decided to help Soo-yoon by taking leave and flying to Cuba to meet the old man. But when he got there, the hotel staff said the old man, named Samuel, didn't want to see anyone. Jin-hyuk waited outside the building, even deciding to spend the night there. The next day, Samuel finally woke Jin-hyuk up. Jin-hyuk gave Samuel a letter he wrote in Spanish to explain that Soo-yoon wouldn't destroy the garden. After talking, Samuel asked Jin-hyuk to stop waiting and promised an answer the next day. Meanwhile, Soo-yoon also rushed to Cuba because she was worried about Jin-hyuk, who wasn't responding to her calls. She searched for him at the restaurant where they were supposed to meet before returning to Korea. Luckily, she found him there. Instead of wasting time, they decided to explore some places together. While they were out, Soo-yoon got a call from the hotel saying that Samuel had agreed to sell his land. Overjoyed, she hugged Jin-hyuk, grateful for his help. Then, they enjoyed their time together in Cuba before heading back to Korea. When they arrived, Jin-hyuk was assigned to the head office again, and his team welcomed him warmly. He asked Soo-yoon to meet him at the goods storage warehouse, but they had to hide in a room when an employee unexpectedly showed up. After the employee left, Jin-hyuk quickly left the room to avoid being seen. Soon after, Jin-chul received a message from Woo-sok, who found out that Jin-chul was behind the trouble with the land purchase in Cuba. So Jin-chul met with Woo-sok to talk about it. There, Woo-sok mentioned he had a video, but didn't want to harm Jin-chul with it. Instead, he asked Jin-chul to decide if he should show it to Woo-jin or Soo-yoon. Meanwhile, Jung-soo visited Jin-hyuk at work to discuss the love scandal between him and Soo-yoon, which was causing a lot of gossip. Jung-soo admitted he knew about the scandal and was worried about Jin-hyuk's relationship. However, Jin-hyuk assured his father that he wouldn't give up on his love for Soo-yoon. In the evening, Jin-hyuk and Soo-yoon went to a park near Jin-hyuk's house and decided to grab a drink at a tent shop nearby. They drank together until Soo-yoon got drunk, so Jin-hyuk had to take her home. On the way, Soo-yoon, still a bit tipsy, confessed that she was happy to be with Jin-hyuk but also worried about losing him. When they reached her house, Jin-hyuk helped her inside into her room. Little did they know, Woo-sok was waiting outside to give Soo-yoon a gift. The next morning, Soo-yoon woke up feeling embarrassed about what happened the night before, but she was surprised when Jin-hyuk called and sang a song for her. Meanwhile, Jin-chul finally told Woo-jin about the problem in Cuba, but he tried to downplay his involvement. Then he met with Woo-sok again to find out his intentions. There, Woo-sok calmly revealed that he wanted a bigger role at the Donghua Hotel and asked Jin-chul to give him Taedyong shares. Later, Jin-hyuk and Soo-yoon went on a vacation together, taking photos of the beautiful scenery. When Soo-yoon got cold, Jin-hyuk accidentally placed her hand in his pocket, where he had kept a pair of rings for them. Soo-yoon was thrilled and hugged Jin-hyuk happily. One day, Jin-hyuk's family stayed at the Donghua Hotel to celebrate Yoonja's birthday because they had a free coupon for a stay. When Soo-yoon met Jin-hyuk's family in the elevator, she invited them for tea and encouraged them to enjoy the hotel facilities. Jin-hyuk, who wasn't staying overnight, called Soo-yoon after hearing about her kindness to his family. Shortly after ending the call, Woo-sok approached Jin-yuk outside his house. He advised Jin-yuk that he wasn't the right match for Soo-yoon and suggested he find someone more suitable for him. At the hotel, Jung-soo meets Soo-yoon to talk about his worries regarding her relationship with Jin-yuk. He's concerned because they come from different backgrounds, which could lead to problems. Soo-yoon understands the challenges ahead but hopes for Jung-soo's support. Later that evening, Soo-yoon and Jin-yuk enjoy street food together and discuss various topics. Jin-yuk plans to spend the night at Soo-yoon's place to help her sleep better without relying on sleeping pills. The next day at the office, Soon-ju and others discuss who will fill the vacant position of vice president director at the hotel. Soon-ju also meets with Myung-sik to talk about Soo-yoon's increasing struggles, especially her tendency to keep her problems to herself. As days went by, Woo-sok showed up at the office and introduced himself as the new vice president director of Donghwa Hotel to everyone. He expressed his desire to help the hotel grow. At the meeting, Soo-yoon asked him why he joined the hotel, and he admitted it was to protect her. Woo-sok then praised Jin-yuk's handling of the Cuba situation while meeting the public relations team. However, Jin-yuk felt uneasy about Woo-sok's presence. Meanwhile, Myung-sik reported his findings to Soo-yoon about Jin-ho's call logs before he fled. He discovered a number Jin-ho frequently called before leaving. Later, Myung-sik discussed with Jong-yoon about Woo-sok joining the hotel's board and suspicions that the Taekyon group aimed to remove Soo-yoon as president-director. At that time, Jong-yoon vowed to support his daughter. Soo-yoon, feeling unsure, hesitated before signing a document, uncertain about her next steps. The next day, Jin-myung was having a meal with Hae-in. He asked her how she feels about Jin-yuk and Soo-yoon's relationship. Hae-in denies having feelings for Jin-yuk, but Jin-myung senses she's not being honest and tries to comfort her. Meanwhile, Dae-chan and Mi-jin have started dating after he confessed his feelings during dinner. One day, Jin-yuk visits Lee, who's injured, bringing lots of food. Unexpectedly, Soo-yoon also shows up, admitting she likes Lee's food and feels jealous of Jin-yuk's cooking skills. Soo-yoon invites her to dinner at his place. At the hotel, Woo-sok talks with Wha-jin, who's annoyed by his attempts to win her approval. That evening, Jung-soo asks his wife to make kimchi for dinner with Lee the next day. He plans to invite Soo-yoon too, and thanks her for offering to have drinks together. The next day, Jin-yuk quickly texted Soo-yoon, inviting her to dinner. At the same time, Mi-jin reminded Soo-yoon about the anniversary of Woo-sok's father's death tomorrow night, making Soo-yoon hesitate. Meanwhile, Woo-sok asked Myung-sik to bring Soo-yoon to attend his father's death anniversary. Jin-yuk, who overheard, stayed silent. When he took Soo-yoon home, he lied and said their dinner plans were cancelled because Lee had other things to do. The next day at the office, Soo-yoon heard Mi-jin talking about Jin-yuk not being able to work at Dae-chan's restaurant because guests were coming to Kim's family home. At that time, Soo-yoon realized Jin-yuk was lying to avoid confusing her about Woo-sok's father's death anniversary. At Woo-sok's house, reporters gathered, wondering if Soo-yoon would attend Mr. Jung's death anniversary that night. Meanwhile, Jin-yuk hurried to open the door, thinking it was Lee. But to his surprise, it was Soo-yoon who had come to his house. She invited him inside to meet his family. On the other hand, reporters were disappointed to see Mi-jin at Jung's death anniversary instead of Soo-yoon. Back at Jin-yuk's house, Soo-yoon felt happy spending time with Jin-yuk's warm family. On another note, Mi-yuk is upset with her husband for severing ties with the Taekyon group, especially since the Korean presidential election is approaching, and losing their support could harm Jong-yoon's chances of winning. Soo-yoon feels guilty for the troubles her actions caused, worsening Jong-yoon's relationship with the Taekyon group. However, Jong-yoon reassures her that she deserves happiness without relying on the Taekyon family. Later, Soo-yoon learns about the owner of the phone number Jin-ho frequently called. Jin-yuk comforts her, suggesting forgiveness to ease her heart. Soo-yoon confronts Jin-ho, asking him to expose the mastermind behind the almost failed Cuba project at the shareholder meeting. She also arranges for Jin-ho to visit a hotel in Cuba to witness the Donghwa Hotel's future there. After Soo-yoon's gesture, Jin-ho, expecting to be fired, is moved and grateful for the chance to continue working at the Donghwa Hotel. One day, Jin-yuk found himself unexpectedly playing the role of a photographer for a wedding at the hotel when the original photographer couldn't make it. Despite the sudden task, Jin-yuk's photography skills impressed everyone, and the photos turned out great. Later, he visited Soo-yoon's house and brought her the bridal bouquet from the wedding. Jin-yuk confessed that he couldn't imagine life without Soo-yoon and even pictured her looking stunning in a wedding dress. On the date of the shareholder meeting, Jin Chol seemed confident that Woo-sok would receive more votes than Soo-yoon. However, just before the meeting began, Soo-yoon requested some time and surprised everyone by bringing Jin-ho into the room. Nervously, Jin-ho admitted that he had only followed Jin Chol's orders to send the email that halted the hotel construction in Cuba. After Jin-ho confessed, Jin Chol became nervous, especially when Soo-yoon demanded an immediate apology. Despite this, Jin Chol remained arrogant and refused to admit his mistake, irritating Soo-yoon, who decided to leave the meeting. She left the matter to Woo-sok and the board of directors to decide on Jin Chol's punishment. Surprisingly, even Woo-sok left, leaving Jin Chol without anyone to defend him. Meanwhile, at the Kim family's house, a neighbor approached Yoon-ja, asking if Jin-yuk could hire her son at the Donghua Hotel. At that time, Yoon-ja explained that it wasn't up to Jin-yuk, but the neighbor became upset, accusing Jin-yuk of only being able to work at the hotel because of an affair with the manager. Yoon-ja felt uncomfortable and decided to write a letter to Soo-yoon, inviting her to meet her son's partner. Upon hearing that, Soo-yoon felt excited about the invitation, but when they met at a restaurant, Yoon-ja apologized and asked Soo-yoon to break up with Jin-yuk. At that time, Yoon-ja hoped Jin-yuk could go back to his peaceful life without any rumors. Soo-yoon just cried hearing Yoon-ja's plea. Meanwhile, Jin-yuk had dinner with Jong-yoon, who approved his daughter's relationship with Jin-yuk and asked him to take care of Soo-yoon. The next day, Mi-jin was curious about the letter from Yoon-ja because she saw Soo-yoon feeling down after meeting Jin-yuk's mom. Soo-yoon invited Mi-jin to a tavern, but when Mi-jin asked what happened, Soo-yoon admitted she was fine until Mi-jin suspected Yoon-ja forbade her from seeing Jin-yuk. At first, Soo-yoon denied it, but she couldn't hold back her tears while expressing her sadness. She felt troubled by her widow status and worried that Jin-yuk's family would face criticism because of their relationship. Mi-jin tried to calm her down and urged her to keep her relationship with Jin-yuk, as it brought her happiness. Another day, Jin-yuk goes with Soo-yoon to an art gallery and notices she's feeling down. That evening, he takes Yoon-ja out to dinner and asks how she feels about his relationship with Soo-yoon. From Yoon-ja's response, Jin-yuk understands that his mom isn't fully supportive of their relationship. A few days later, Jong-yoon surprised everyone by announcing he was joining a new political party, meaning he was dropping out of the presidential race. This news upset Mi-yak, who questioned why her husband would turn his back on the Taekyong family, ending her dream of becoming the first lady. The PR team at Donghua Hotel also felt uneasy upon hearing the news, fearing it might cause conflicts in the hotel management, especially since the Taekyong group owns a significant share. However, they also felt relieved that Soo-yoon no longer had to worry about her father's political career, which she always put first. Another day, Soo-yoon was with her father, Jong-yoon, and asked why he made such a big decision, even though he worked hard to reach that position. Jong-yoon admitted that he found the courage to do so because of Soo-yoon's support, but she reminded him to be cautious because the Taekyong group might try harder to remove him as the president-director. In the evening, Jin-yuk took Soo-yoon home after she had drinks with her father. On the way, he tried to comfort her and encourage her to stay positive despite the challenges she faced. To cheer her up, Jin-yuk planned to take her to Dae-chan's restaurant, but he had to leave suddenly after hearing that Jin-myung was detained at the police station for getting into a fight. Jin-myung's friends accused Jin-yuk of using Soo-yoon for money. Soo-yoon felt even sadder and confused about their relationship after hearing this news. A few days later, a woman named Soo-ah, who was having a relationship with Woo-sok, came to see Soo-yoon. She explained that she was only Woo-sok's temporary partner, and he had only asked her to hang out and have meals together. In that moment, Soo-ah started feeling frustrated when she realized that Woo-sok cared more about Soo-yoon, his ex-wife, than her. Eventually, Soo-ah understood that Soo-yoon was the one Woo-sok truly loved. After hearing Soo-ah's story, Soo-yoon went to meet Woo-sok, surprising him because she had never taken the initiative before. There, Soo-yoon told Woo-sok that she had met Soo-ah and learned about his past actions. Woo-sok explained that he did everything to free Soo-yoon from Woo-jin's control, who had made Soo-yoon's life difficult. Soo-yoon thanked Woo-sok for his sacrifice and acknowledged that he had taught her valuable lessons, including how to move on from someone. The next day, Soo-yoon takes Jin-yuk out for a walk, which makes him really happy because he gets to spend the whole day with her. While they're eating at a restaurant, Soo-yoon seems like she wants to talk about something important, but she changes her mind after Jin-hyuk gives her a camera case as a gift. Seeing how sincere Jin-hyuk is, Soo-yoon becomes more confused about her decision to break up with him. On another day, Jong-yoon shocks everyone again by admitting that he received illegal funds from a company during the presidential election. He says he's willing to face the consequences of his actions. After Jong-yoon's confession, people start guessing which company gave him the illegal funds. Some, including the public relations team, suspect that it might have been the Taecyeon group. Jin-hyuk also feels sad thinking about Soo-yoon, knowing that she'll face many problems soon. He realizes that Jong-yoon intentionally entrusted Soo-yoon to him because her father planned to reveal everything in the media. On another note, Jong-yoon asked his wife Mi-hyuk for help by urging her to testify that they had received illegal funds from Taecyeon. He tried to persuade her to tell the truth so that their daughter Soo-yoon wouldn't be under Hwa-jin's control. Meanwhile, Hwa-jin appeared puzzled after Jong-yoon publicly admitted his mistake, even though she planned to use it as leverage to manipulate him into following her wishes. That evening, Jin-hyuk planned to take Soo-yoon home, but they ended up at a restaurant where he tried to cheer her up. Soo-yoon appreciated Jin-hyuk's concern, but she insisted they break up, much to his shock. Despite Jin-hyuk's pleas not to end things, Soo-yoon remained firm, though it pained them both. The next morning at the office, Soo-yoon watched the news about her father admitting to receiving illegal funds from Taecyeon. She reached out to Jong-yoon to thank him for having the courage to reveal everything. Meanwhile, Hwa-jin discussed Jong-yoon's situation with her legal team, who were tasked with approaching the prosecutor to gather evidence implicating Taecyeon. Jung-soo felt sad when he learned that his wife had talked to Soo-yoon about breaking up with Jin-hyuk. Yoon-ja said she did it to protect their family, but Jung-soo disagreed, saying it made Jin-hyuk and Soo-yoon unhappy. At the same time, Jin-hyuk heard his parents talking and figured out why Soo-yoon broke up with him. Quickly, he went to find Soo-yoon and asked her why she didn't tell him about his mom getting involved. Jin-hyuk begged Soo-yoon to give him some time to talk to his mom and fix things, but she decided to end their relationship anyway. This made Jin-hyuk very sad. One day, Woo-sak's uncle met Soo-yoon and told her that he intentionally took all of Taecyeon's shares in the Donghwa Hotel. He planned to give them to Soo-yoon to protect her position as president-director. However, Soo-yoon refused the shares because she didn't feel right taking them. Later, Jin-hyuk resigned from his job. Meanwhile, Mi-hyuk was called to the prosecutor's office, and reporters bombarded her with questions about the Taecyeon bribery case. After hours of questioning, Mi-hyuk admitted to receiving bribes from Taecyeon. Hwa-jin, who was initially calm, became angry when things didn't go her way. With the new testimony, prosecutors finally arrested Jong-yoon, who was suspected in the bribery case. Mi-hyuk couldn't hide her sadness when she saw her husband being taken away by the authorities. Jong-yoon asked his wife to stay strong while he was in jail. Meanwhile, Hae-in, who is with Jin-hyuk, expressed her support for his relationship with Soo-yoon and wished them happiness. When Jin-hyuk came home, he found Yoon-ja waiting for him at the bus stop. He invited her to talk at a restaurant, expressing that he doesn't hold any grudges against his mother and will wait for her to accept his relationship with Soo-yoon. The next day, Hwa-jin was called by the prosecutors on suspicion of bribing Jong-yoon. Meanwhile, Soo-yoon visited her father in prison, where he seemed to be holding up well. In the end, Soo-yoon received a gift from Jin-hyuk. It was a pair of shoes she wore in Cuba. This reminded her of their time together, making her realize she still loved him. Soo-yoon hurried to meet Jin-hyuk to apologize for saying goodbye. They hugged, showing they were back together. From then on, Soo-yoon always seemed happy, even planning a trip to Santiago with Jin-hyuk. He agreed but wanted to be as newlyweds. The series ends. The moral lesson from this series is never underestimate the power of love, cause it can even make a businessman give up his shares just to impress his crush. And hey, if you want to win back your ex, just gift them their old shoes cause it works like magic.